Minnix. I am the author of the new book, Lyrics and Music Theory for Aspiring Songwriters. And I'm here today to talk about 10 reasons why your songs suck. Now, I'm not trying to badmouth your songs or anything, but if you're clicking on this video, you probably feel like your songs suck a little bit and they need some help to make them become what they want to become, or what you want them to become. So, I'm going to give you 10 tips here that should help you make your songs a little bit better. Number 1, you have boring chord progression. Try spicing it up. You're only using the 1-4-5. Maybe you're using the 1 minor 6-4-5. But it sounds like everything everybody else is doing. Try to come up with some other chords that will actually work to make your songs a little bit better and more interesting. Number 2, bad production. Maybe your song doesn't really suck, but you have some bad production. Bad production will kill a song and make it really sound horrible when it really isn't. You may have a really cool song, but if you've recorded the demo poorly, nobody's going to want to listen to it. And so maybe you need to go back and re-record it a couple more times and then pick out the one that you like the best. Number 3, you have simplistic lyrics. Maybe you have lyrics that are the kind of things that only a 5th grader or a 4th grader would be interested in. Really should try to do a rewrite and then maybe a second rewrite if you're not really sure if your lyrics sound that good. You might need to bump up your time that you spend crafting your lyrics and come up with something that's a little bit more intelligent. If your lyrics sound like something a 5th grader might enjoy, you might want to add a little bit more work into those lyrics, and maybe it'll make your song sound better. Number 4. Tip number 4, you have a repetitive melody. A melody that's not really doing anything, it's not saying anything, it's not going anywhere, it's just maybe you have a really nice measure or two that sounds really cool, but instead of actually crafting more melody to go along with your song, you're just using the same phrase over and over and over. It's got a really cool little hook, but it's just 2 or 3 measures, and you need to develop it a little bit more. And it's kind of boring by the time you get to the end of the song. Give it a little bit more work and come up with some more melody for other parts of the song, and maybe that will be the solution to fix your song. Related to this is tip number 5, you have a whiny melody. You may have a melody that's really, really whiny, and everybody's heard a song like this. It comes on the radio and you just want to drive an ice pick in your ears. It's just irritating. Oh, if I gotta listen to this person whine anymore, and everybody's heard songs like this, then maybe that's what's happening to your song. If you feel like you might have a whiny melody, you probably do. Because if you don't even want to listen to it, guess what? Nobody else is going to want to listen to it either. And you need to go back and add a little bit more to the melody. Number 6, no hook. You have no hook. Maybe you have an almost okay melody, but by the time you get to the chorus, it's just more of the same. You may have some interesting stuff, but it just isn't quite developed yet. And well, that's not going to help anybody. You need to have something interesting to hook the listener. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and add in a little bit more, a few different things. Maybe just changing a few notes is all you need to do to make that hook work for you and for your listener. Number 7, jarring and not smooth changes. You may have some interesting passages of your song, but maybe they jump too much into something else and you're trying to put too much into it, or you're trying to change it, but you're not really making it happen. That can really be distracting for some listeners. There are really good songs that change gears completely, but they still sound interesting. Layla is a great example of this. It's an incredibly different change, but it isn't jarring. The way they change into the second section of the song is just smooth, and it sounds really, really cool. Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. It changes to something different in the song, but the change that it makes is really good, and it definitely goes off into a new direction, but it doesn't do so in a way that you're like, what in the world just happened? And this is distracting me and I can't make sense of it. Tip number 8. This one is definitely a problem with some people. Your story doesn't make sense. Maybe you've written a song and it seems intelligible to you, but to other people they don't quite get it. Then you need to go back and do a rewrite and add some more to it. Some people can get away with a song that has a story that doesn't make sense, like Bob Dylan, but Bob Dylan has spent years cultivating this air of mystery around him that, you know, when he writes a song that the story is a little bit odd, you just chalk it up to it's Dylan, you know, and it's interesting. Certain people, they can write songs that you're not really sure what they mean. You know, I'm thinking in particular of some of the songs off of the Blood on the Tracks album, like Tangled Up in Blue might be a good example. You want to make sure that you don't do that because you're not Dylan and you haven't spent that time, unless you want to be weird and mysterious right off the bat. But good luck with that because it may not be a successful ploy. But if you, as a new songwriter, tries to write a song, the story better make sense and your pronouns better all add up and everything should be easy enough for the listener to understand, or otherwise people are just going to turn it off. Another thing that's kind of related is tip 9. You have too many unnecessary details in your song. Maybe your song needs a trim or an edit, or maybe there's some stuff that can be chopped out so that you can add other stuff to it. Don't be afraid to cut those things out to make your song a little bit better. And number 10, the last point that I want to make is you have poor chord choices. Maybe you are trying to be a little bit more inventive with your chords, but you're not going about it in a logical manner. Maybe you've picked some chords that just don't work. Or maybe they would work if you would approach them in a different way. So you're jumping from one chord to another, and maybe they don't necessarily sound good in the sequence that you have it. If you like those chords that you've picked, maybe add another chord that helps transition to it. Maybe you need to rearrange the chords that you have into a new order, and it'll make sense of the whole thing. Those are some tips. Not that your songs suck, but you definitely want to make the best songs that you possibly can, and those tips will help you. And if you find that you have some other questions, or if you need more ideas, you can check out my book, Lyrics and Music. They have it at Amazon, they have it at Barnes & Noble, and you can also read some articles that I've posted at my website at www.willyminnix.com. That's Willy with a Y, Minnix.com. And you can find out more information about my books there. Until then, God bless you. I hope you have a good day. Keep writing songs, and we will see you in a later video.